You're listening to the audio portion of Workshop Wednesdays. Workshop Wednesdays is a free live discussion about topics affecting accountants, bookkeepers, and business owners. You can join the ABO group in Facebook to participate live Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Pacific Time. Just search for ABBO in Facebook. This podcast is brought to you by Schoolofbookkeeping.com, where you will learn, grow, and build a thriving bookkeeping practice. We have hundreds of lessons with almost every aspect of the industry. Start your free month today at Schoolofbookkeeping.com.
Well, welcome to another Workshop Wednesday, casual conversations for serious workflows, brought to you by Schoolofbookkeeping.com, keeping you learning QuickBooks your way. Well, after a 2-week hiatus, Rachel's back with us. So glad to
Yes,
see you.
I'm back, and I was in Mexico, and I didn't get stranded.
Yeah. With all the news of what might be going on down there, some of us, one of the two of us, was a little bit concerned.
Well, I was in Cancun, and it's the opposite
Yeah.
side of the country, so I think it's fine there. I don't know. What do
Yeah.
I know? But we were fine.
Well, it's one of those things. You see the headlines and you associate, that it's right next door. I had the same issue living in Arizona when there was all this cartel stuff going on,
Oh,
a
right.
few years ago, and people thought like, "Oh, are you going to get beheaded soon?" Like, no, there's lots of people, lots of space.
Yes,
You
they're
know,
banging at my door right now.
that's right. Got to go. there's 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 someone coming to behead me. But anyway,
Oh,
but
cartel
not
humor. Haha.
yeah, not to be not to take lightly the things that are going on there, for those that might
Yeah,
be closer to
I'm sure
those same
it is
dimensions.
very scary. Yeah, I'm sure
Yeah,
it's very scary. I think it was mainly Puerto Vallarta, and we're in Cancun, so
yeah, yeah. Puerto
anyway.
Vallarta is on the west coast, and you are on the east coast,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And more people on the west coast of the U.S. go to Puerto Vallarta. I knew a lot of people that went there. Cancun is very easy for us to get to here in the Midwest, but one thing I know is that they do a beautiful job of tourism in Cancun, so we felt fine.
Yeah, and some of the resorts down there are, are like compounds in and of themselves, right? You have everything that's
Yeah,
self
yeah,
sufficient. So we're
yep.
glad you're here. And what you may have missed, while while you were off globetrotting, is we finished up our series on Intuit Accountant Suite. So we kind of went through, the changes that are coming, the charges that they're charging, and
Hmm.
some of the features that are in there. And this really, so it leads us to our today's topic of, you know, Intuit Accountant Suite is kind of evolving into a practice management software, for accounting firms. So now we
Yeah.
want to talk to you as an accounting firm owner, and one that has a team of people. You have a little bit more complexities than a solo
Hmm.
practitioner, or somebody just getting started. So I kind of wanted to pick your brain a little bit, because you have the experience with maybe some other processes,
Hmm.
or tools or workflows that you've had to overcome because QBOA was not a practice management software that you could feasibly use, right? So
Yeah.
as Intuit Accountant Suite is making these strides to become maybe an entry point in a practice management software, established firms such as yourself, such as Net Deposited, you know, might have already addressed some of these growth pains or growing pains of a firm
Hmm.
and needing to be able to work and collaborate with your clients. So, first question to Rachel. Let me pull up my notes here. Right. So, we want to talk about just like what practice management software is in general, right? Because what is it in general? What does it solve, and what are the key features of a practice management software for a firm that is dealing with multiple clients and potentially having multiple team members? That's a loaded question.
Well,
What is
yeah, no, I mean, well, there could be a lot to that, but I'll just say, like, very simply put, when I was first starting out and it was just me, and I used to do a lot of, there's an educator in our space named Mariette Martinez, and she's super knowledgeable. And at that point, I kind of didn't really know anything. And she told me, when you're first starting out and you're thinking about something like a practice management software, it could be as simple as a Google Sheet, right? You have a Google Sheet of a list of your clients, and you've got their names, their addresses, what services you're doing for them, their EIN, and it could be as simple as that, right? And all it really means is, how am I organizing the clients that I'm working on? So you can keep it as simple as something like that, and then you can possibly work your way up to something a little bit more complex. And that could be something like what they're building into QBO, or they've built into QBO and now they're expanding on that, which they've got customer profiles, and we have tools such as a books close, where it can even like walk you through, these are the things you're supposed to be doing for each client every single month. And some of that is really helpful, because I remember before, like I came to bookkeeping really just kind of as an accountant, and I hadn't really ever done the whole picture together, like all of the things that go into the financials. And so I sometimes I wasn't sure, like, am I doing all of the things right? And so it was actually really helpful to see some of the things in QBO and some of the other practice management software tools that kind of have it all built in, like, you should do this, 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 and this. And so I was like, okay, great. Now I've kind of got a framework. So now some of these practice management softwares are so, complex, that not only do you have your customer information in there, so you've got sort of a directory of all of your clients. Now you've got client communication portal, where you can securely speak with them back and forth. They can upload secure documents into the portal, and they can be saved in the cloud. And so now we use a practice management software tool where we store everything related to the client in there, not only just client information, but we want to document all of our processes. So now we have our standard operating procedures for each client, each task, each thing, and that gets attached to each client's profile. So a step-by-step task list of all the things that we're doing. So really, now a practice management tool for me is much more than just sort of keeping myself organized in a Google Sheet. But like Mariette said, all that time ago, that in itself can be a practice management tool. So you don't have to get really complicated, but something like that can kind of help you get yourself organized. And it's really important to do that.
Yeah, and it's kind of like any term or workflow that we're really talking about here on the workshops, right? Is that inventory management is not the same for one company as another, right? They may be just doing periodic inventory, and you may be thinking of perpetual ongoing inventory management. And until you have that communication of, okay, this is what you need and this is what you get, is it's one of those
even
things,
with
right? Job costing, same
even
thing.
with sorry, you're kind of cutting out a little, so I'm not exactly sure when you're done talking, but it's sorry about that. No, it's not one size fits all. Even you can have two franchise businesses that are seemingly the same, but they could be wildly different. So that everybody has different functions and how you do it. So maybe I need to look in that report with that client. Maybe I don't need to look in that report. So it's everybody has something different. And so as your firm gets bigger and you have a bigger team and you have more people touching the books, you really want to make sure that you have a set of standards. And especially if maybe person A goes on vacation or is sick or has to go out, then if you have somebody covering for them, they can go in and they can look in the practice management tool and they can see all of the tasks that are right there. So at this point, we can't function without a practice management tool. Did I just say practice management tool?
Yeah. So I mean, and that kind of really boils down to, like the purpose of a practice management software is for scalability. You talked about a couple
Mm-hmm.
things of, your standard operating procedures, your templates of task lists, your communication back and forth, so that if one person goes on vacation, another teammate or another person can fill in, right? Real easy.
Yep.
So that's really at the core of what these practice management softwares are offering, right? And you're getting some of that in Intuit Accountant Suite, right? You're seeing that,
Mm-hmm.
Tom, where you can, you have greater control over the user profile or the permissions.
Mm-hmm.
You're now able to do user groups in your firm, so you're able to, group people together, team members with different access. Um, so it's starting to get to that point, but someone like you that might be in already established, that might seem like a step back based on something that you've already are using, right? Um, but what do you find are the main benefits of practice management software to you and your team?
Sure. So one example that I was going to say is that, and I don't know if Intuit is there yet with, like, for example, this need, which is I don't necessarily want, and a lot of our clients don't understand. They think that they can just email me or email a team member or call us on the phone, but then it gets siloed in that team member's email or that team member's voicemail box. So we really want a practice management tool where our client communication can sort of be seen by everybody. And that way, if somebody's gone, then the other person can jump in. Or if, God forbid, one of our clients is inappropriate, screaming at them or something like that, then I have eyes on, to what's going on and I can intervene. So luckily nothing like that's ever happened before, but that's something that I actually didn't realize when I was first starting. Again, when I was just using that Google Sheet, it was really for organization. And so as you grow a little bit, you realize like, oh, okay, now I have a little bit more different needs than just organization. Now I want, enhanced communication. And I don't think, you tell me, I don't know if the new practice management ability in QBO has any kind of shared inbox. And so if they don't, that makes me conclude that it's not quite there yet for what I would need, because I really need that ability of having a shared communication tool. For me, that's crucial. But again, for a solopreneur or even somebody that's just got like one extra person, they might not need that. So that's one good example.
Yeah, like so to kind of speak to your question, right? I think it's getting there. I don't know that it's totally transparent. I know it makes sense what you're saying, right? To have that bird's eye view from someone who is a firm owner or the primary admin of the firm inside of Intuit Accountant Suite, to be able to see and monitor, and identify those bottlenecks that might be occurring in that communication, either between team members or clients as well. So being able to see that would be super helpful. As a solo practitioner myself, the team things is where it gets kind of it's not a standard operating procedure for me, right? Like collaborating with
Right.
other people from the firm side of things. So I know you can mention, um, people in comments, and then that will, um, kind of tag them in that
Yeah.
communication, but it doesn't, who can see what, by default without, looping them into the conversation. That's something I'm not 100% sure of, just yet, but of course I'm sure that is, if it's not available, it's something that's on the roadmap, because I'm sure
Yeah,
they're hearing.
I'm sure it is because I know they're in contact with. One thing that I do like and appreciate about Intuit is that they have these accountant councils and they speak to accountants a lot about what's needed for their firm. I know that they do that, and so they're not dumb. I mean, it's just that they can't do all things all at once. So,
Yeah.
things have to be scheduled and rolled out and what have you. But one other thing that I thought of that I know would be really beneficial for you, and this I know Intuit has, or QuickBooks Online has, is that, the storing of files and, shared back and forth between client and yourself. Because not only is that helpful for security, you really don't want to ever email things back and forth. Like, right now I'm going through a nightmare with a client, an older client. We did a very substantial cleanup, but they chose not to continue as a regular monthly client. But
Mhm.
that's a whole other thing. But he keeps coming back to me like, I can't find in my email. I can't find my email. I'm like, well, I didn't email all of these statements to you. They're in
Right.
the cloud file, and I had to send like a standalone Google Drive kind of file. But if he would have been in our practice management tool, everything would have been in there for him to retrieve, organized nicely. And that's what we do standard for everybody.
Mhm.
So, and everybody knows to do that. So there are, it really, really streamlines things so you're not wasting a whole bunch of time, which time becomes very, it's finite. You got to
Yeah.
be really mindful about the time spent.
Yeah, you either gonna, I mean, you only have so much time in a day. You only have the capacity to do so much in a day. So if you want more of that time, you either need to have another team member do that, or you need to streamline your processes to save your time, right? So those are
Yeah,
essentially
yeah.
the choices that you have. But let's
And I should mention
client,
that that client has emailed me over and over and over and over and over. Here
yeah,
you go. 3 weeks
right.
later, where is it? Here you go.
And
3 weeks later, here you go. It's like, and whereas I could just say like, here, look, they're in your portal. Here you go. So it's sometimes it can be hard.
yeah, and just like this, this concept of scope creep, where clients, extend the scope of your services without an engagement in place, right? There's this thing of communications creep, right? Where
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
you text somebody one time, and now that's their that's their preferred communication to directly text you back, right? So
yeah.
it is part of a challenge to herd those cats and say, hey, this is how we're going to be communicating with you. All of these things are going to be available in your client portal. If you have a request,
Yep.
oh, hi, Ollie. Your dog showed up on the chair behind you.
Oh, Ozzy, Ozzy.
Ozzy, sorry. Makes an appearance on the on the workshop, because he's very
Yep.
interested in practice management, apparently.
Yeah, he is.
But so the communications creep is something that can be solved by that, because they're going to have, with most practice management softwares, they're going to have a place to go to be able to see their engagement letters, to see the communications, to make future requests to you, so that you and your team and the client can see all of that. So, um, but backing up before they even become a client, Do you find that a practice management software should help with the onboarding of potential new clients, like engagement letters and discovery call forms and those types of things, or do you feel that that is outside of the scope of what a practice management software would do for you? Is that more of a proposal
Well,
software?
it really almost doesn't matter what I think about that, because the developers out there are developing. This is like such a this is like something that is a big thing, and I was going to bring this up, is that all those practice management softwares out there are also not the same. Some include the proposal stuff. Some
Yeah.
include a CRM. Some include this, that, and the other. And so it's not apples to apples. And so that's the problem that I had, is I was using one and it had all these things. And then we ended up switching to something else that there was some overlap, but ultimately I needed the things that were in a practice management software B, and I had to get rid of A. And so now I would really like to go back to A, but I need that one thing that B could do. So it's really hard. And then I have a separate proposal software that I would love if something like that were integrated, with the practice management tool. But again, that kind of stuff isn't really up to me. I'm not a developer. So really, until now, that's what I think Intuit ultimately is trying to do. They're trying to be the one-stop shop to do all the things. But unfortunately, what they end up serving us is a subpar version of some of the things, with the proclamation that they're going to eventually give us all the things. And I'm like, well, but the problem is these people can do this part of it really well. And so we sort of have to navigate that landscape and determine, well, how much are we going to spend? What's overlapping with the other thing? And, how I don't want too much, because I don't want things I'm not using. So that's where it gets really, really tricky. Is I love the idea of consolidation, but like I've told this to you before, then you have like that old 80s thing where you've got like the TV and the VCR built in, and then what happens when the VCR breaks? Like, you still have the TV, but then you can't use the VCR. Like, what, are you supposed to buy a whole new brand new VCR? Well, that's, I guess, what people did. So that to me is, I spent a lot of time looking at that stuff. It's a lot.
Yeah, that's what I've been seeing, is that like there have been practice management softwares for the client communications, the workflows, and those types of things, and then there's a proposal billing software that is kind of like their preferred partner. Oh, yeah, he doesn't like Ozzy does not like that at all.
Hold on one second.
So we have these we have that's fine. live workshops, and is that the FedEx driver or UPS is here?
And I was going to say, like, I do use a proposal software with a built-in billing. But again, you can just send a recurring, invoice or sales receipt from QBO. So it's not like this one can't do it and that one can. It's just that I like the features of this one thing better because it bundles more things together and it has more customization. So that's really what it boils down to. And luckily, a lot of these apps integrate now, or I can connect A to B and using a tool like Zapier, or maybe it syncs natively with QBO. And that's why a lot of us have become integration specialists. I mean, I can integrate really anything with anything at this point. So that's kind of a unintended consequence. I think it's cool now. So I don't need a one-stop shop.
Yeah, that's what you described earlier before Ozzy started barking his head off, was that was the issue that when you need something right now, some promise of, hey, it's on the roadmap, is not that's not a workable solution when it becomes something that you need today, right? So
Yeah.
this promise of the future of, hey, we're going to add this, it's on our roadmap at an undisclosed time with an undisclosed feature that you may or may not solve your problem, right? When you have a need today. And that's one of those things that that's kind of the state that we're in, is when you need a challenge, when you have a need for more, is that
Yeah.
new shiny object tool that might be out there, have is that the solution, or is it, well, let's just bridge with manual processes until this roadmap feature comes to light, and then we can evaluate whether it's going to work for us or not. But at least we have a manual process if we don't
Yeah. I
need that
mean,
feature.
I almost would rather not know. Like, stop telling me over and over and over you're going to be coming out with this one thing when it's not working, or or you say it's eventually going to, and it's like, when? Because all it does is just make me more and more annoyed, because I use another
Yeah.
tool that does work, right? So you're making me think like, okay, well then maybe one day down the road, what? And then I have to like switch my whole process.
Yeah.
Because like my prime example that I'm thinking of is, we have all this AI, working in QBO right now, like in the bank feeds, and I'm like, I don't see it. I don't see it at all, actually. So when? I mean, because if you say now, but it's not really happening, to me, it sort of, I don't want to say like unravels trust, but it just sort of makes me think like, I'm not even going to bother with that, because I see it's not working very well, and there's a lot of hype without a lot of delivery. So meanwhile, I don't really see a lot of the other apps that I use with a lot of wait around and see, this is going to be awesome. It's a little bit more like, this is the product I need, it works, it gives me support, great, without a lot of fanfare. So that I know has turned a lot of people off, specifically with Intuit, but they're lucky that, or I don't want to say luck, but I mean it's a positive attribute that they have this strong general ledger, and the fact that they can add all this other stuff, great, but why don't maybe get it working perfectly and then unveil it?
That will never happen. Like that's kind of not the nature of the product development season
Yeah, no, I
that
know.
we're
They have
in.
to hype it up so they can sell shares of stock. I get it. But
It's not just that, right? Is because the in desktop days, right? They had a cadence of every year there would be new features, right? And so kind of had that understanding that, there would be uh, a development phase, there's an alpha, then there's a beta, we have beta testers, and then they flesh out the potential issues, and then that's what they release. And then they have maintenance releases for we didn't realize all of these things, because, a subset of users who are beta testers, they still can't find all the weaknesses in the fence, so to speak, right? So QuickBooks
yeah,
Online is
you're right. I mean, and that's like regular product development, which you're absolutely right. I guess like probably what we're seeing now is this whole like AI bubble. Like AI is going to do it all. From sometimes I feel like people that aren't really in it every day and aren't really seeing the issues. It's like I listened to something yesterday, and they were sort of comparing it to like the .com bubble of a lot of things. Like they just said were going to happen, and then it kind of didn't really, but a lot did happen. But there were some things that didn't. Like I think a lot of there's not a lot of realistic talk about AI right now, because I think there's going to be a lot of again, unintended consequences or new things that spring up from this, or new needs, or new cottage industries or whatnot. So there's a lot of unknown. So that I think is what I find resentful. Like it's gonna be great, and then but what you have right now isn't working at all. So it's that might be its own little different thing.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the AI piece goes, I and we'll probably have a workshop on this a little bit deeper was Intuit Intelligence was just announced, and it is being what's the best way to describe it? It is being annoyingly visible, right? Like
Yeah, oh,
if
it's
you
so
have
annoying. Meanwhile, like
if
you
you
can't even get my rule correct. Like my
like
rule that I
Clippy,
set up is
I
not even correct.
I thought Clippy from Microsoft Office was annoying because he would always be like, "Hey, what are you doing? You send an email? You need
Yeah,
help with that?" Right?
yeah.
I mean, Intuit Intelligence is like as soon as you like, I know where I'm gonna click, but then the Intuit
Oh,
Intelligence drawer
yeah,
shows up. It's like, hey, wait a minute,
yeah.
I didn't.
And it
Who
like
asked
it
you?
obscures my view on my like little cursor, and I'm like, go away. Yeah, it's hard.
But I've had some mixed results with that. Like I've actually tried to give it the benefit of the doubt, right? Because I was struggling with the new reports, and we'll have another workshop about the modern reports updates on that in the future. But I knew what the answer was. I just couldn't find it in the report. So I asked Intuit Intelligence. I'm like, where'd this number come from on this report? And then it ran through in like, I don't know, maybe a minute. It was telling me what it was doing. It's like, I'm running this report. I'm like, oh, I should have thought of that. Right. And then it gave me a breakdown from an explanation of where that number came from, and then a breakdown of the underlying data that fed into that. And I was like, wow, that was actually really cool. And then yesterday, I'm like, it worked so great the last time, I'll use it again. And I asked it, and it could not figure it out. I knew what the problem was, right? Like I knew the answer.
Mm.
I just needed a report to back it up, right? And so I was asking it, and it was basically, so the situation was that the customer had applied an invoice or applied a payment to a future dated invoice, and
Oh, okay.
they were running a so the payment was last year, and they paid for an invoice in March of 2026. So they're running their AR aging report, and the payment is still showing on the report. The problem is when you have this situation where you're paying future dated invoices, and you're not including all dates, uh, that report will show, it will show there. But if you look at the transaction, it says everything's applied, right? Because it is.
Why are they even doing that? Was it
Well,
an
that's
accident
another.
or a mistake?
That's no, it's a workflow thing that we're working out together. They solved it.
Oh,
Didn't have these problems in desktop. So this is this is
how many
where
times have you heard that one?
yeah. So, so I, I tried using the Intuit Intelligence to say, because I knew what the problem was, but I didn't know what the answer was. And so it would not identify what the answer was, because it was like,
Oh, right.
there's nothing applied on this day. I'm like, I know it's not applied on this day.
Yeah.
It's dated in different dates. Why is this showing on the report? And it couldn't answer me. So I got a little frustrated going back and forth. And I probably used up my allocation of 25 prompts uh, in order to ask the Intuit Intelligence. So mixed
Oh, you
reviews.
have
And
a limit on the prompts?
yeah, you have an allotment of 25 questions that you can ask, and then you can ask more, but you got to pay for them, right? Because that's how they're that's their that's how you meter things. Because I think that's the state of where we're in when it comes to AI and prompts, is that we're kind of like the infancy of cell phones, right? Where at first it was like, how many minutes do you get?
Yeah. I
you
was just
know,
gonna say, like, are there rollover prompts?
Exactly. And then we'll see that, and then we'll also, then we'll see plans that have unlimited prompts, right? So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
how they're metering, because there is this thing called an AI credit that somebody's got to pay. And,
Yeah.
they tried this, I mean, this whole thing of, here, everybody use it so we can figure out how to sell it. people get used to using it for free. And then now they know how to sell it, but now people don't want to pay for that because they
Nope.
were used to using it for free. Like, well, now you're no longer the product. Now you're the customer. But
Yeah.
we have
Well, and I
gotten
already pay for another AI tool. So it's like I'm not going to
exactly.
be paying for like 5, 6, 7 AI tools.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the promise of and we're way off the practice management topic, but the promise of AI in QuickBooks is the promise of any other tool that's deeply integrated into QuickBooks, right? You're going to have a little bit more um, stability, presumably, right? You're going to have a little bit more security because everything is already in QuickBooks. That's already,
Yeah.
great, behind the guardrails of bad actors that might be out there. You have the context of the AI engines being trained with other use data use of the software. So that does seem like it could be a, a greater advantage than, all right, well, I'm just going to take this report, put it in a PDF, anonymize the data, and put it in my chat GPT or Claude or whatever, and then, have it analyze those datas again. Right. So that's the flip side of this coin that we have with everything that's either integrated into a software or does something that you already know outside of the software. And
Yeah.
so, kind of bringing this back to practice management, what practice management software have you evaluated and used, if you don't mind me asking, and you telling?
Oh, sure. So, I mean, aside from Google, like Google Workspace, which I still
Yeah.
use, um, at first I was using Financial Sense when it was just me, and I did because I was referred to it by somebody, like maybe Scottish John or something like that, and
Hmm.
but it was just me at that time. And so Scottish John is somebody that we know, and he's from Scotland, so I call him Scottish John. Um, so and Financial Sense is really great, and I know a lot of people use it. And I used it kind of when it first came out, and it really is designed really for teams. And so for me, it was kind of overkill. I didn't really need it. So I ended up not using it. But I do know that it is really heavy with accounting and bookkeeping tasks. And you can really put every single workflow in every single task. It's really cool. Like talk about swap out one person, bring in another person. I think that's where it's very strong. It's really for what needs to get done. That I think is probably where the strong point is for that. Then I switched to when it was called Keeper, and I was using Keeper. And this is before Keeper had a lot of the functions that it has now. And now it's called
Hmm.
Double. And it's really popular. A lot of people use them. But I started using it was primarily a close the books at the end of the month tool. Like that was it. And
Hmm.
maybe a couple reports. Then I ended up switching to Client Hub, which I also love. It's not set up like a spreadsheet like Keeper/Double is. It's really more of a customer directory, but a lot of the tasks are in there via a tag. So you can kind of search and put together all these tags and it'll pull up what you need. It is engineered completely different than something like Keeper. But then we really, really needed to go back to the spreadsheet style with the month-end close task. So we switched back to Keeper, and now we're with Keeper. It's now Double, and we're really happy with Double. Now it's got a secure client login, cloud folders, communication tool, and as well as a month-end close tool, and it syncs to QBO. So if I make the changes in Double, it syncs instantly to QBO. So at this point, you don't even really need to go into QBO. And then it also now has a receipt capture tool where you can, scan with the OCR, scan the receipts, you can send it to QBO. It's really unbelievable what some of these tools can do now, and it's all practice management. And again, I can create a Zap from my I use Anchor and Ignition because of the firm that I purchased. We use both, but I'm going to consolidate into one. But the second a client signs a proposal, creates a new profile, a new customer profile in Double and in Client Hub. That it'll do that too. So they're really, like, remember what I said before is that they're not apples to apples. They're different. Like the user interface is completely different. The functionality is completely different. It's geared, like Double is geared more for, month-end close. I feel like Client Hub is geared more for client communication, client form storage, just client information, not necessarily doing any accounting tasks in there. If they're able to add that would be awesome. But actually, I think Client Hub now does have a receipt capture tool. I could be wrong, but you can use both as a full practice management software. So, but then there's a whole bunch of other ones out there that I'm not super familiar with. There's Carbon there, which I know nothing about, but I know a lot of people like it. And just all kinds of stuff. So that, I can't even speak to because I'm not an expert.
And do you find that there are some common limitations of some of those practice management software, or is it really just dependent on, where their strong suit is kind of, the flip side of that is of course the things that they don't do well, but because I'm thinking as you're talking about that, I know there's this tool called Uncat, right? Where
Right.
they started as an option of identifying uncategorized transactions, right?
Yeah.
So if that's where they started, and then they started adding on, oh well, if we can do this well, then why can't we do this well? And then they start adding on those other things that maybe they're not, it's not part of their special sauce. Do you find
Yeah.
that
And
some are just limited in scope, or because they're adding on and into areas that are new to them, or do you feel like there's a common thread of like all practice management softwares can't do X?
well, that's a perfect example that you just gave of Uncat, because I wouldn't ever use Uncat now. That can be done in Double. And not only can it be done, it could be done faster and better. And that's where the technology moves really fast, like whip fast, because, that that was rendered pretty obsolete pretty quickly, because now, even I think, does even QBO have a way of communicating to the client?
As we talked
So if
about
there's
the
an
books
uncategorized,
close, you're going to have these tools that will, here's uncategorized transactions, here's transactions without a payee. You can send a request to the client, like, who is this? They answer it.
exactly.
You fill it right in there, right?
Exactly. And now in Double, what you can do instead of, you can just group a whole bunch of them together and then send them all at once. So you're not like sending them individually. So they do become more efficient. And then, I can think of a couple other, I don't really want to like name specifically, but like unfortunately then something else is caught up to what they're doing, and then they do it better, so then I have to let that go. And so that's something like, I feel bad, but I can't pay for every single thing. I have to consolidate as much as I can, again, without repetition. And so if
your software costs.
yeah, and it bundles in that, and then I'm like, oh, okay, great. Now I can, like auto fetch or something like that. There was one fetch tool that I was using that then I didn't need it anymore because then this other thing was fetching it better. So it's really just, I'm like, I feel bad, but feelings isn't really part of it, like, unfortunately. So,
All right.
it just is what it is. I mean, if I had, if I had it my way, some of my clients that maybe had bad feelings, took it out on me. We could live in a better world, but I don't know. Unfortunately, it's just kind of like the nature of the beast. But
Right.
But that's one example of literally how the technology moves really, really fast, faster than what Intuit can do. Because I feel like Intuit is bogged down by such a big enterprise that sometimes the smaller guys and gals can move faster.
Yeah, they're a little bit more nimble. So this has been a great discussion. I think we could probably continue this for another hour or so, but we do have to kind of wrap it up today. We are going to have, if you've been paying attention or watching or listening to us in the past, you know that School of Bookkeeping is a big fan of Method, the CRM. So we are going to have them come on in early April to talk about how you can customize your own practice management tool using Method. So they'll be joining us then. So we're kind of using this as a launching point for that comparison, where we kind of add those or augment your practice management inside of Intuit Accountant Suite with Method. So look forward to that. Next week, we are going to have, speaking of fetching, we are going to be having Relay joining us because their reconciliation is chef's kiss. So
What?
being able to, yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, combining that with QuickBooks Online, right? The
Wow.
the AI reconciliation feature when you're using Relay is really great, and we're going to be talking about some of just the core features. I'm going to have my Relay rep joining us, so it'll be the three of us next time. Really kind of talking about what Relay has done, and then they'll join us again later in the month to talk about some of the core features or new features that they're working on their paid products that they have. So next week will be reconciliations made in heaven with Relay.
Wow, I'm excited.
And QBO.
I have some Relay accounts for my firm that I haven't reconciled in a while. So
all right, so we'll do a little short demonstration of that with masked. I'm going to create a video so that we can kind of talk through the process, because I did multiple reconciliations with a Relay connected account in QBO properly. In seconds. I mean, it was pretty amazing. Like, I was, these two things when they cohesively join together, it's like the Wonder Twins, right? Like, form of a bank statement, shape of a reconciliation done in seconds. So it's actually pretty cool when they cohesively work together. And we'll talk a little bit about that next time on the workshop. So appreciate you all joining us or listening with us today, and we'll see you next time on the Workshop Wednesday.
And that wraps up another insightful episode of Workshop Wednesday, brought to you by Schoolofbookkeeping.com. We hope you enjoyed today's discussion and took away some valuable tips and strategies to enhance your bookkeeping practice. Remember, if you want to stay ahead in the world of bookkeeping and accounting, be sure to visit Schoolofbookkeeping.com. With a wide range of courses, resources, and expert guidance, you'll find everything you need to sharpen your skills and boost your career. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, please take a moment to leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice. Your reviews help us reach more listeners and continue to bring you the best content every week. If you have questions or topics you'd like us to cover, reach out to us on social media or send us an email at support@schoolofbookkeeping.com. We love hearing from our listeners and are always looking for new ideas to explore. Thanks for tuning in to Workshop Wednesday. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep excelling in your bookkeeping journey. I am Dan DeLong, and we'll see you next time.